Life Off-road's back with a brand new season, and to kick things off, we've got a 4-part extravaganza in the Styx River State Forest. Did we bite off more than we could chew? The sun's setting, we're at the bottom of the worst track we've done all day. We've got diesel leaking out front of the truck, guys. I don't know what we're going to do. But every adventure starts at the beginning.
What's cracking, legends? Johnny from Bushwakka here. We're at the Styx River State Forest, close to Armidale. With me for this trip, I've got my youngest daughter, Shanae. And I'll tell you what, we are ready for an awesome weekend.
I'm really excited to be here. My first trip with the team, my first trip in the Work Navara, so really keen to get out there and see what happens.
G'day Christian, great to have you along for your first trip.
Great to be along. I haven't done a lot of four-wheel driving, and certainly the Navara that I'm driving's in the same boat. It's been a bit of a show pony today.
Nah, we're going to get that thing dirty, don't you worry about that.
A bit of dirt that's not painted on will give the thing a whole lot more credibility, I'm sure.
This is a 2018 NP300 Navara, pretty much stock standard. It's got fat, low-profile tyres, adjustable shocks on it. It's got the Carbon 12K winch. This is our most universal winch. It's at under 25 kilos for the winch, the control box, and all the wiring. That's the lightest winch on the market, and it definitely helps keeping the weight down and the front of your vehicle. But that's about it. It's a pavement princess up until about today. Yokohama and another Navara as well.
Christian, I see you've got a setup with some muddies.
Yeah, it's on the Geoland G003s. Not quite as aggressive as the G005s that you're on. I think I've brought the right tyres for exiting those river crossings in case it's pretty muddy.
Bringing up the rear today, we've got Johnny in the Chevy, which is an absolute beast.
The Chev's very much the same as what it was last year. 7-inch left, full kitchen in the back. Great touring vehicle, very comfortable, and so far it's been proven as a very capable track off-road vehicle as well.
What's the dream?
Probably dream car, a really nice built-up 79 series Land Cruiser with like a really loud exhaust.
What is your thoughts on that, John?
Oh, mate, the problem is that a 79 is just, you know, you're born with the love for them. And I've got one at home. I love driving it, but I still love driving the Chev more. It's just that comfort. But there's something about a 79, 76 or any 70 series cruiser. You either love them or you hate them. And if you love them, you can't fault them.
James from NewTracks here. Boundary Trail is rated as an easy track on the NewTracks app. It's recently been driven, which means it's relatively reliable, 31 kilometres an hour over 1.6 kilometres of track.
It seemed like we were descending forever. First we were descending on bitumen, and then we were descending on this well-kept dirt road.
Definitely something that I've noticed in the first part of this trip is how dense the forest is. You can't see more than 10 metres back from the road, so it's just very cool to see how lush it is. I'm a bit of a yowie hunter or yowie believer, so I'm pretty sure he's out there watching us as we travel through his backyard.
James, we've got Byron coming down with the BYD Shark. We've got Cooney coming with his fairly stock Crado. You're in the basic Navara. Christian's in the newer Navara with a fairly basic setup. Big Chevy's got plenty of balls, and the Iveco's got, well, the Iveco's got just about everything you could throw at a vehicle. Which one do you think is going to get stuck first?
I think the Chevy's going to belly out.
Johnny, the call's been made. The recovery experts on this trip have said that you're going to be the first one that gets stuck.
Those them there are fighting with. You know what? The Chev and I are ready, and we'll show them up this weekend.
The Mac guy's driving a pretty stock Navara.
He might not be wrong. The Chevy has got a long wheelbase, and you know, if there's tight corners, who knows? I might be the first to get stuck, but we'll give it a red-hot go.
Yeah, well, it's usually me that gets stuck first because I'm trying something silly.
It's just in our veins, mate. Silly is what we do.
James, a little bit of a descent coming down into the valley. We should be close to the river soon.
Excited to see what this looks like.
Wow, nice facilities. A few tables, toilets, It's looking beautiful, guys, and the river is there. How awesome does that look? Johnny, priority will be to find a nice shady spot for you in the camper.
100%, mate. I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be bloody peaceful down here. Absolutely awesome.
Perfect spot. Looking forward to sitting back there this afternoon and having a cold one, and a nice place to wake up tomorrow morning.
It's always hard to go explore if you have vans or a vehicle with all of your camping gear in it, so it's nice to be able to drop everything off and then go and explore in a bit more depth and see some of the more remote areas.
This looks like a bit of a steep one. I'm actually going to engage low range. Hampton's Fire Trail. It's listed on Newtracks as a blue.
This unnamed medium rated track on the Newtracks app has a couple of steep sections, which means it's going to be a little bit more difficult in the wet.
Tall, straight trees everywhere, nice lush bush. It's quite a spectacular place to be.
We're going to go out to a few tracks that Simon's has found on the map. Looking forward to see what we've got to play with.
Not super steep, Christian. It's pretty hard packed, but a gravelly surface. It's your first time off-road on the G003s. How are they feeling?
Walking the park so far, I think they'd be laughing at me if I got nervous on this sort of stuff with the capability of those tyres. I absolutely love Yokohama tyres, and for me it comes from more of a motor racing background. I discovered the 1956 oval window beetles, and I actually found one for $300 that came from Tumen. It was coated in house paint, and I said, I'm going to build this car, I'm going to turn this into my dream car. It took me 9 years, so I didn't know anything about cars, but this is how I learned. You just pull stuff apart. Custom engine with big Weber carburetors and a limited slip diff and custom gears. Just does everything. It's a bit amusing when you've got a 1956 Volkswagen Beetle that overtakes Porsches. It all started my passion for Yokohama because it had the A008 tyres, and I just could not believe how they made the thing perform. I just love getting behind the wheel. I'll drive anything, but four-wheel drives are quite new to me, and now I'm starting to fall in love with their four-wheel drive tyres. After we drove around Styx Forest looking for the proper tracks to do some four-wheel driving, the first one we came across, there was a little bit of a river crossing.
Oh, that is lovely, guys. Styx River turning it on for us. That is a beautiful start to our trip.
Nice firm ground, so we were able to just drive through nice and easy. Not much current to worry about.
Seemed like it was going to be shallow, and I'm a bit nervous because the car doesn't have a snorkel on it. And all of a sudden we drove into a dip, and I think a little bit of water came up to the bonnet, and that's about where the air intake is, so I'm glad it didn't go for very long. That was a little bit of a shock.
Great warm up for the big Chevy, or is that a cool down for the big Chevy?
It's only just touching the belly, mate. It had quite a bit of flow to it. Hopefully that means that the area's had some rain. Hopefully we'll have some mud holes or anything that we can play with while we're out in the area.
And then we went round and we found these lovely little stages of hill climbs. There was a muddy creek at the bottom, which makes it a bit more challenging.
There's a couple of fun play hills.
Oh, look at that one.
Simon took the first go, took the middle road, which looked to be the hardest.
Let's get these G005 XMTs dirty. First time in mud. I'm really excited for this test.
There was a muddy creek at the bottom, wets the tyres and then pulls water up the mud tracks that we're trying to climb up, and they were quite smooth with a few roots. But Simon has chosen the most aggressive tyre in the range.
Iveco just idled up, a little bit of gas to get up a little step there, plenty of grip, and up he went.
Unbelievable traction, that was awesome. How good was that? Nice and slow, straight to the top.
He just walked it up and then he turned the Iveco around so that he could winch anyone who got stuck.
This is exactly what we're talking about with low pressures and an aggressive shoulder and sidewall. You can actually see here, that is the exact imprint of the sidewall of those G005s, the XMTs. And it's just that additional traction, getting the tyre down, allowing those side biters to engage with the terrain. You can just see the extra grip I've had all the way up there, just grabbing the side of the rut and pulling the big truck up. Now that's a big heavy truck, getting close to 5 tonne, and we did that crawling in first gear with no traction issues at all. I'm really stoked. This is my first time really testing these tyres on some slippery, muddy stuff, and spot on, spot on.
How do you think the other cars will do?
The other cars got no hope. They're all going to get stuck. Watch this.
We needed to consider a winch because I was almost convinced that we were going to bottom out in the Navara.
Send it, big boy.
no lift or anything like that, so it's a little bit daunting pointing yourself up a steep hill with a mud hole at the bottom. Little bit of a spin trying to get up the easy line.
Want to go back and try the harder one?
Sure enough, the peer pressure came on.
You saw the Iveco do it, now he reckons that cracked out Carbon Off-road Navara can do it.
We didn't make it! We're going to try again. We definitely gave it a few red hot goes. If you can't win, at least put on a good show, right?
I decided to go on the track on the right because it had less of a drop off. I wasn't really looking far enough in front of me because coming out of the mud, which is probably deeper, it's also steeper.
Got all the right buttons pressed. ABS off, we've got the diff lock on, we're in full low, first gear.
I had a crack at that track. No, I had about 5 cracks at that track.
So I reckon we're just a few pounds high in those tyres. We'll get Christian to back up, let a little bit more air out of the tyres, and he's going to have another crack and we'll see what difference it makes. Now we've got Johnny lining up. He's going to go the middle, the same route that I took. I dare say he'll hit it slightly harder than I did. This should be impressive.
There we go.
I just couldn't wait to have another crack, so I circled back around every single time, feeling so close, wanting to get up there so bad, but also knowing I have to drive the boss's car back home.
I started with around 20 pounds and ended up with about 17 and 18, which helped me get a bit further up the hill. But that first hill I tackled probably a bit ambitiously. I just couldn't make it up over the roots and out of the holes. So what I actually did then is I changed tracks. I went to a slightly easier track, and with those lower tyre pressures and a little bit less incline, just keeping the boot into it. Absolutely delighted that the car got to the top, and I think that inspired Johnny. He'd got up first time in the big Chev, and he thought he wanted to try the track that James and I were struggling on.
I went around, started up a new line for the one on the right, which has been a bit challenging all day. So my initial reaction was that I just didn't have enough guts to get up this hill.
All right, tyres, come off the bead, Simon.
Christian started pointing towards the car and I went, oh, geez, what have we done now?
Copy that.
My tyre? Oh, happy days.
So we lost a tire.
As soon as he dropped in, the channel you drop into is narrower than the track of the Chevrolet.
Oh no.
And so he got about 2 metres into it, and it did exactly what I was worried about with my car. It pushed the tyre straight off the rim.
Johnny from Bushwakka has done himself a little bit of a mischief. Looks like there's a tyre rolled off a bead. So we'll go down, give him a hand. Well, if you're going to do it Bushwakka style. Hey Johnny, have you got an off-road jack by any chance?
I do, mate. Have one right here.
Oh, awesome, look at that. Looks like a brand new one.
It's a brand new one.
We started to go up the hill. We thought everything was perfectly fine. GoPro on, we were talking, we were like, yeah, we got this. We did not get it.
Johnny pulled out the trusty Bushwakka trolley jack. Knowing what to do, the guys got stuck in. They just cleaned the bead up, cleaned the rim of the tyre up, jacking the big truck up nice and carefully.
Underneath the Chev and a few pumps of the jack and she's up in the air, and we'll be able to manoeuvre that tyre back into place so that we can get some air back into it. Now we've gone for a unique aspect of the heavy duty jacks. We didn't go for a 2-ton or a 3-ton. Went straight down the middle at the 2.5-ton. That covers both your lighter four-wheel drives and your heavier American trucks.
Sure enough, now the big Chevy's got full healthy tyres again.
All right, let's go.
It was nice to stop for lunch, have a little bit of a break. But then we thought, we've really got to get some more wheeling under the belt. It was quite exciting, but also for me, I was pretty nervous about what we'd find.
This unnamed difficult track would pose a little bit more of a challenge than the blue tracks and the green tracks on the map, but in dry conditions shouldn't be too challenging.
This track we're coming down now is a real jungle adventure. I'm surprised to see anything like this. It's very overgrown. It's a dead-end track. Once you're committed to it, it's all the way down.
We got through some tighter bush, and this was my first experience of branches hitting this sparkling new Navara.
It's a great little track. I'm enjoying it. Johnny, how's the Chevy faring with the overgrown track?
Well, she's pushing her way through it. It's a bit tight in some spots, but I think nothing she can't handle.
I don't know how you guys can be sightseeing. I've got my eyes wide open looking for all the obstacles and breathing in as I go between these trees, and I'm only in a skinny car.
Yeah, try it in an Iveco. No, we're having a ball up here.
Now, I don't think anybody's been here for years because it's completely overgrown, barely making it through, getting a new pinstripes down the side.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about the Bushwakka story?
So 2025, this is our 6th year of being in business. Started in March of 2019 when we launched at the Brisbane 4x4 show. Started out with the Extreme 270 awning, which was our design, and worked us up now to unofficially have got the world's largest range of freestanding awnings under one roof. I bought a caravan and worked on it. My first tool was a jigsaw, turned it into a family van with bunk beds and a L-shaped lounge, and thought, well, there might be some money in that, and it sold so quickly that I then bought a second, and then we bought a third and a fourth. I told my wife we could make a serious go out of this quite dramatically and very quickly. It was just a home-based business in the garage to a 5,000 square metre warehouse and supplying our product worldwide.
Started going up and down these really steep undulations until we got to part of the track which looked absolutely blocked by a huge tree.
And some of the old growth forest, you can see that big tree line
Down on
down.
the left there.
That is the right.
Oh.
This one.
That left.
Fortunately, we found a side track around that massive fallen tree.
So Christian, it's been a pretty mixed bag today already, from the deep valleys and river crossings up to these little peaks now and views.
Oh, it's just brilliant. It's heaps of fun, and the variety we've seen just today is mind-blowing. There's a lot to experience in this little bit of the Styx forest that we've experienced today.
Being so lucky to have these sorts of areas to explore, it was really nice to just pull up next to the river where the track came right down next to it.
Down in this nice little gully, surrounded by hills, the river and the reflections, it's just an oil painting. It's so beautiful, and you can't walk past it, you just have to stop and admire it.
It's quite amazing to see how far it actually travels. It'd be amazing to get that overhead view and just see from up above how far it actually goes, because when you're driving next to it or driving above it, you don't always get the chance to appreciate the full scope of how big it is until you get to take that step back.
It was beautiful. It was quite fast moving water. There was these gentle rapids and the water was so clear.
Guys, the reward at the end of a dead-end track. We had no idea what we were going to see when we got down here, but I tell you what, this makes it all worth it. All the pinstriping, all the steep hills, this is just stunning. The Styx River, turning it on for us, guys.
The narrative all the way along the track was it's possibly just one way, but we could see there was another steep track. That was even tougher than the tracks we'd been before.
Styx River still has a few tricks for us up its sleeves.